Hey guys, I'm Aarvi.
Hey.
So this is season 1, episode 12. So this is actually the final episode of this season. So
Yeah,
excited.
we made it.
All right. So today we're going to be discussing about top 3. So the top 3 goals for 2020. So we're coming towards the end of the year. So why not we address some of the goals we have for next year.
That's
so
it.
Leki will start us off.
Perfect. So the theme for our top 3 today is personal goal setting or maybe resolutions. So we thought we'd jump the gun there. So for my 3, I've set up one external goal, one internal goal, and one for a bit of fun. Okay, so my external goal for 2020 is I'd like to perform a muscle up on Olympic rings plus on like a bar. So the bar that I have, if you've been watching our Insta stories, is I've just got like the kids' playground thingamajig, and it's sturdy, and I'm just really training some broken down movements of a muscle up. So strong with dips on the Olympic rings, just to help with shoulder blade stability. So dips on the rings. I'm doing chin ups with improving form. So my pull traditionally is the weakest part of my push-pull efforts. And other portions of breaking down the motor mechanics of actually performing a muscle up. And why a muscle up? I think it's just a gateway movement for me to improve my home-based body weight training. I do this home-based gymnastics training. It's just what I can squeeze in with my day with my family and all that sort of jazz. And I think it looks cool. I do sort of fantasize about having enough strength. You see those little videos on Facebook on athletes who can hold their body weight and they're sort of walking up the side of a gym sort of setup. So I am working on a planche, which is another type of gymnastics movement. But for next year, I really want to tick the muscle up. So my dip has improved over the last 2 years out of this world. So I can pretty much dip all day. My chin up has always been a weakness, so that is improving, but I've got to work on the bottom of the chin up and just initiating that first bit of lift. And then just trying to wire into my brain how the actual muscle up works. And a lot of it too uses a bit of momentum, but a heap of it, like everything, is technique. So for 2020, I would like to sit down December 2020 and tell you that I've been able to achieve a muscle up and I've got the video proof to prove it. So that's my first goal for 2020, perform a muscle up.
So on that, are you going to be doing like a strict muscle up, or are you going to go more the CrossFit and have that kip involved where they swing and get up?
Yeah, I'm really familiar with the kipping, the kipping muscle up. So in short, I'm not going to be performing the kipping. I'd like to try and keep the strict form, and it's just the way that I roll.
Nice. All right, so my first goal for 2020 is the technique on my big 3 lifts. So as you can see in some of the Insta videos I've been putting up, been really working on my squat, bench and dead. And then I just want that to be like pretty much on point. I'm sort of like a technician, and sort of injuries have also made me want to get the technique a bit better, because ever since I've started working on my technique, dropped the load, I'm actually feeling injury-free, working on my activations. As you can have a look in our blog posts that I've put up on activation stuff. I do them pretty much every day before my session. And like my knees are feeling better, my back's feeling better, and the load's not there, but it slowly build up. So that's my goal for next year, to be able to, so I want the squat to be my best. So I'm working on my squat the hardest, then probably the dead, then the bench. Reason being, because squat's like a real big movement and it trains my legs, and I have chicken legs, so I want to train those legs, get them big. And then bench press, there's plenty of other ways to sort of train the chest and get like more bang for your buck. So I'm not too hesitant on that. And the deadlift, so that's in between. So so I might be investing in some squat shoes, some fancy squat shoes.
Oh, look out, Christmas present.
Yeah.
Hint for anyone out there.
And then, so that's my goal, to get that technique pretty much on point. And then if my technique's all right, then preach what you teach, I suppose. So
absolutely. Avi's doing a great job of glazing over that, because when I first met him earlier this year, there was a particular style of training that he incorporated and that he practiced, so if you were to sort of make a snapshot on, say, March 2019 Aarvi versus December 2020 2019, Aarvi, what would you say, injury-wise and training-wise, was maybe the main one or two things that you've learned and switched up with your training? You kind of mentioned it a little bit there, but I just want to reinforce it because it's been big growth, mate, in 8-9 months.
So the biggest one is probably focusing more on like my warm up, and so doing a lot of like actual investing some time, half an hour or so on my activations, just to loosen up my joints. And because instead of doing like some static stretching, you're better off doing some activations, and that actually loosens you up a bit more. Whereas static stretching, they say, give you like an analgesic effect. So there's plenty of research out there that say static stretching doesn't have
It's outdated pretty much, yeah. Professional teams don't do it.
And then activations is what I've been really focused on, and that's probably because back then I'll just go rock up to the gym and just start do a little squat warm up. Yep, straight into the squats. Yeah,
straight away.
Yeah, no water, no cardio, nothing, just straight into it. And then the second point will probably be the load. Mm-hmm. So since I started up with MD, he's my PT at the moment down at St Kilda. So he's like a S&C coach. He's working with like the basketballers, a couple of AFL, so the boomers and all them. And he's like the right-hand man of Andrew Locke, so he knows his stuff. And then, he just told me my training plan was way too much load, a lot of compounds, and just all squeezed in during the week. And he's made me do 2 rest days where I was just having a rest day, and even on the rest day I was still trying to do a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now I have 2 full rest days, and it's pretty much 2 or 3 compound movements during my session and a bit of accessories, and that's about it. I still spend my time, maybe more sets to get that same amount of volume, but not as many exercises. And ever since then it's made a big point, and I feel like a lot better after each session. Like I think Sebastian had someone else wrote, you want to leave the gym thinking you could do more, but you don't. Like you still want that kind of energy as you leave. Mm-hmm. And then the following session you keep building on each week, and you'll notice that's better for the long term instead of just smashing it out all in one day, trying to get that full pump, fatigue, and then you're wrecked for the rest of the week. And that's what I was doing earlier, I suppose.
Nice. So 2 main things there, activation and load, massive changes. So my second goal for 2020 is an internal goal for me. So it's reviewing meal plans and those bits and pieces. That's ringing. Give me a sec. Okay. Back into it. So meal plan. So I've subscribed to a sort of food strategy, and over the journey it's kind of evolved depending on how I feel basically and what my results have been. So for the minute it's been sort of I wouldn't say bland, but it's been a systematic sort of thing that I've been eating, and with some research and a lot of the people that I follow and I'm really interested in what they have to say. I would like to be a little bit more open-minded with lots of different type of variations of food. So for example, people of Japan, Japanese people, they pretty much eat anything, and their gut flora is really resilient, and so they don't develop as much chronic disease as compared to, say, traditional Western cultures. So it's not that I'm picky with food, it's just because with meal prep and organizing it at home with all those bits and pieces, we just get sort of automated with sort of eating the same things. So I'd like to switch it up by reviewing every 3 months, and trying lots of bits and pieces to just introduce new things into my body so that I can start to build more resilience there and start to develop, I don't want to dive too deep, but just try and develop more resilience. So for example, I've been eating a lot more game meat, so oxtails and some brains and things like that, making a lot of slow cooked meats, just to see how I feel. And with a lot of the foods that we traditionally eat, and when I say we, the Western society, we tend to eat a lot of the muscles of animals. So we tend not to eat from nose to tail as we may have traditionally have done. So the tendony bits, the cartilaginous bits of animals, some of the innards, like not the crusty stuff, but some of the other bits and pieces like the heart, the brain, the eyeballs. Even just saying that, it sounds really cringy, but I'm open to those sorts of ideas to see how it helps with my health and with that sort of long-term perspective. So that's a bit sort of left field that I'm throwing out there, but I've kind of preempted this 2020 goal. But basically, the the main focus is just looking at a bit more creativity and a bit more variety with what's on my plate for 2020.
So I got a couple of questions on that. So if you
I'm
do,
sure you do.
so if you do see like a brain or eyeballs laying there,
Yeah.
what are you thinking? What's going through your head?
Well, generally you're like, that looks disgusting.
Yeah. So how are you gonna put it straight? Are you just gonna close your eyes or just not smell it and just put it straight in?
Yeah, so for example, the people at home, so my wife and the kids, they refuse to eat it just with the smell. So other times I've actually prepared it, so it's a slow cooked sort of broth thing, and I put veggies in there, and so it
just mix
tastes
it in.
okay. Yeah, so I don't eat it like
Just
raw
plain.
and plain, and you got these pair of eyeballs that's slipping at you. But yeah, it's actually pretty tasty. But I've been trialing sort of oxtail, ox tongue, kangaroo meat. There's a few other sort of deer variations that are in Australia. Kangaroo is actually really, really nice. It's tasty. So I'm
If you
moving
cook it right though.
if you cook it right, and I'm moving away from chicken for a little while. So see how I go without white meat, and on my plate I'd probably say 30% of it's veggies and all that stuff, and 30%'s meat. But of that meat, I'm just going to try a few other things. See how it goes.
So I'm guessing you haven't seen the Game Changer documentary?
I have. I saw it just out of interest, and I think that warrants its own podcast. I reckon its own vlog, because it does challenge a lot of ideas, and it also raises a lot of questions too. So I'm open to it. I'm probably on the other end of the spectrum, but I still enjoyed watching the video, the movie.
So if you haven't seen it, it's pretty much a Netflix documentary supporting vegan. So it's pretty much just taking their side. So let us know what you think if you've seen it as well, and if it's changed your. Because I know I have a couple of mates that have actually changed over and they're trialing it, and and I don't know how they're going, but they changed over.
I think it's just important to be open-minded to new ideas. So we're not going to judge you if you're vegan. It's all good, but I'd love to have the courtesy, given back. So I think it's good to be open-minded, not to be too militant in your views. Pretty much is all we're suggesting.
Yeah. All right. So mine's pretty much a similar goal, but mine's. My goal is to be like 90 kilograms and lean. So at the moment, I did get up to 90 earlier this year, but I was a bit had a bit of extra fat on me, I suppose.
Had some girth.
Yeah, I was a bit more bulkier. So at the moment, I've leaned down just because summer's coming around. Can't stay too bulky, sweat more. So at the moment, I'm sitting around 86, 85. So my goal next year is to try and be 90 kilos and try and keep that same kind of leanness and just a healthy body fat, and then go for there. So how I'm going to achieve that? I'm going to probably track my calories a bit more. So I'll probably might do a vlog a bit later on how to track your calories. But so that's probably warrants another one. And then that's probably the goal, to try and get 90 kilos. So I don't really look at weight usually, but it's just something like just to achieve towards. Usually I go more so by look or the clothes size. That's a better look than actually looking at what the scales say, because sometimes the scales might be the same, but you've actually lost some fat, just because because muscle weighs more than fat, and you've actually toned up more, but you may not see that on the weight scale. So another good place to look at is usually like your waist around your pants, especially if you're trying to lose some weight. And then sometimes it's a slow process, so it's probably going to take me a whole year to slowly, bit by bit. It won't be a quick one, so it might even take me into 2021. But that's my goal for trying to gain a little bit of size, I suppose.
Slowly but surely. It's the best way, isn't it? Cool. So my third and final point is a fun one. And it is a tentative trip that we're planning, and it's a caravan trip. So, when I'm pretty chatty when I'm in the clinic, so I always pick a few brains about where people go on their holidays and what they get up to. And because I've got a few littlies, we don't really see ourselves being on planes flying too far anytime soon-ish. So we've got this tentatively planned trip in a caravan that we'll hire, and there's a great website there where the people who own caravans can loan it to you, and it's called Camplify. They're pretty cool. And where I live in Gisborne, there's a heap of older type Aussies that have the caravans, and they're happy to give it away at a reasonable price. So it's only going to be a 7-day trip we're planning. We're looking to head from say the western suburbs, heading east around the coast. We'd like to stay at this little town called Buchan, where you can go into like this mountain and go into a cavern sort of thing, and then head up towards the southern central coast, Merimbula, and then up towards Bateman's Bay. I guess the main reason why is because the kids are pretty young, and I remember when I was a littlie, those sorts of memories, they stick with you, and the kids sort of see their parents as cool people for a period of time, and then there's a point where, like a flick of a switch, they sort of, mum and dad are daggy and they just want to be with their friends all day. So we're mindful of that. So if we can sort of sneak away for a 7-day trip, we're thinking for winter next year. That'd be a goal for us as a little family unit to duck away over winter in 2020. That's our fun little thing to look forward to.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Thanks, mate. So,
because a lot of hidden gems in Australia, so everyone goes overseas, I suppose, but if you actually look around Australia, there's plenty of spots to go to.
Heaps.
And I'm probably done the same. I always go overseas, but might have to start exploring. All right, so my third goal is pretty much, it's a bit more in the physio aspect. I just want to have like more of an open mind, especially start looking into more like the chronic disease side of things. So Leki's big on the chronic disease, and I'm very big on like the strength side. So I just want to learn a bit more about the chronic disease, and because a lot of people are coming in, and it's really big at this moment because we're sort of like, is it an aging population, are we?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, so the chronic disease is very big, and then if we can sort of get in early to try and stop that kind of stuff coming in later down the track, it just makes it a whole lot easier. So, and they come hand in hand. The body needs to be strong, but at the same time you need to have like good gut health and stuff coming in. And pretty much, like there's plenty of articles coming out now. They had some earlier saying gut health actually helps with arthritis and reducing all those conditions. So it's a big thing, and we see a lot in the clinic, people coming in predisposed diabetes, or they're close to getting arthritis and all those changes. So yeah, it's something I want to explore a bit more and just be like another option instead of just Leki, I suppose. Yeah.
Mate,
phone call.
take two again. Sorry, Avi, you were rudely interrupted there.
Yeah, I think
Finish your thought.
I was finished pretty much.
Down the home stretch, yeah. So chronic health disease, and so absolutely, it's a big passion of ours. And this isn't our primary expertise, but it's our growing interest. So we have our own individual goals which you can speak to into 2020, but we can see that there's definitely something here. So that is episode 12 of the very first season. Okay, we did it. We put the intention out there to just commit to weekly vlogs there and just have a chat for you guys to get to know us, and for us to get to know you guys down the track. So I hope you guys enjoyed season 1. Season 2 we're going to drop into January next year. We're going to have a couple of weeks away. So maybe Avi can give us an update next year about what he gets up to. But I hope you guys have a great Christmas. Try not to overeat. Have a lot of fun, and we'll see you in 2020.
All right. Have a good Christmas and New Year's from me as well.
Cheers, guys. See ya.